We have this popular term in the United States. It's called Southern hospitality, and for better or worse, it sort of shapes the friendly and welcoming identity of the American South. But you know what? The US is not the only place where you can find Southern hospitality. I found something very similar in the deep south of the island nation of Sri Lanka. My name is Josh, and I am a digital nomad who lives in a different country every single month. Join me for a journey to the small beach town of Mirissa and watch as I find something very, very different from what I was expecting. My journey to reach Mirissa was pretty quick and easy. If you've been watching my Sri Lanka series, you know that I had been staying in Galle the previous few days. And since the two locations are only about an hour's drive apart, I decided to take the laziest form of transportation possible. I booked an Uber from hotel door to hotel door. Yeah, I know, I still feel weird about it. I rolled up to the door of my Mirissa hotel, which wasn't really a hotel at all. It's called Era Holiday House, and this homestay may well have shown me the best example of Sri Lankan hospitality out of anywhere I visited in the entire country. But more on that later. I dropped my bags in the room and immediately did the first thing that anyone does when arriving to a beach town. I went and ordered myself a brownie with ice cream. Not far from the Era Holiday House is the Capybara Cafe, which, if you couldn't tell by the name, is extremely cute. It's a co-working space with food and drinks and live music, and I ordered myself a coconut water and a brownie with ice cream. And while the dessert was quite good here, what I really took away from visiting the Capybara Cafe was a vibe check. This town is extremely mellow. It's relaxed, no schedule. It is definitely operating on island time. Now, I've been to a number of beach towns throughout my travels, and while they do vary a bit from country to country, one thing is usually true. Most often, places that have a very chill vibe like this don't necessarily provide the best hospitality. And so, after visiting this cafe and sort of sussing out the vibe, I assumed that Mirissa would be the same. However, it only took as long as visiting my first proper tourist attraction to learn that my hunch was very wrong. There are two major things that most people do when they visit Mirissa. The first is to go whale watching. Mirissa is probably the most popular starting point for whale watching expeditions in all of Sri Lanka. The second most popular activity to do here is surfing. Surfing is big all along the south coast of Sri Lanka, and there are quite a few surf towns in the area similar to Mirissa where you can book some lessons. And while almost everyone who goes to Mirissa plans to do at least one of these two things, I did not do either of them. There was rain and thunder in the weather forecast, a lot of it. And so, with only a couple days in town, my prospects for this trip weren't looking so great. Nonetheless, I was determined to make the most of it. And what I quickly learned is that the Mirissa beach actually features a couple pretty famous natural sites in and of itself. The first one that I encountered was Parrot Rock. And it might not look like it just from this video, but trust me, visiting Parrot Rock was one of the more badass things that I have ever done. Firstly, just to get to Parrot Rock, you have to walk directly through the ocean, which during a storm and high tide is a bit precarious to begin with. There's even a literal warning sign, which I didn't even notice until I got to the other side. And then, once at the island, I was faced with this very rickety looking stick structure designed to help you reach the top, and somehow I reached the top. And you know what? It was actually pretty amazing. The storm was clearly approaching, but in the meantime, at the top of Parrot Rock, I got to hang out with a whole murder of crows. I mean, just look at these guys. I mean, total assholes, just cawing at everyone, shitting everywhere, okay? These crows are not the hospitable Sri Lankan locals I was talking about. up, okay? Anyway, I somehow made my way down from Parrot Rock and just decided to walk along the beach for a while after that. But when I finally saw it in the distance, I immediately made it my goal to reach the most Instagrammable place in all of Mirissa, Coconut Hill. And it was there that I would encounter my first true source of Sri Lankan Southern hospitality. Now, for whatever reason, Coconut Hill has become one of the most popular places on TikTok in all of Sri Lanka, and it's sort of famous as a result. But it's pretty much just exactly what it sounds like. It is a hill with a bunch of palm trees on it overlooking the ocean. The storm was getting closer, and the sun was setting, but thankfully, I made it just in time. I reached Coconut Tree Hill and had a few precious moments to spare, but the joy of reaching my goal was pretty short-lived. Before we could even enjoy the famous Sri Lankan sunset, the sky finally opened up. Absolute downpour. Now, given that Coconut Tree Hill is a hill, you have a long walk directly downhill to leave the area. And when it's wet, it's slippery, it's muddy, and during a downpour, I would even say that it's probably a bit dangerous. Thankfully, we had a savior. There is a bar right at the summit of the hill called Odin's. Immediately, they shuttled us all in and gave us shelter from the downpour. They couldn't possibly serve all of us, even if they wanted to. I really appreciated that. Eventually, I did make my way back down the hill through the mud and hopped into a tuk-tuk to return to my homestay. There, I was quickly greeted in person by the owner holding an umbrella waiting for me. Did I mention already that this homestay was super special? I spent most of the remainder of the evening using a hairdryer on my sneakers and clothes so that they weren't totally soaked and I could put them back into my suitcase without ruining everything else. The next morning, I woke up in an unusual way to the sound of knocking at my door. I also heard the voice of the hotel owner beckoning me to come outside. I forced myself to get up, I rubbed my eyes, and I opened the door of my room to see a full spread of breakfast foods, entirely and 100% created just for me. I had no idea that this was going to be part of the experience, but as I sat down at the table, multiple courses of amazing breakfast dishes were brought out for me back to back to back. I mean, we are talking curries, we're talking roti and samosas, we're talking toast with jam and all kinds of fruits and tea and coffee. I mean, truly, this was a feast for a king, and it was all prepared just for me. But the meal was just one part of it. They also offered to set me up on the spot with any tours that I might wish to take. They had umbrellas at the ready at the earliest signs of rain. I had my own designated pair of slippers for when my sneakers got wet, and they even had their own tuk-tuk that they used to carry their guests between the hotel and the train station. And while this video is not sponsored in any way, if you would like to go and support this place with a visit for yourself, I have a booking link for you down in the description below. Usually when it comes to beach towns, especially those in the United States, in places like California, there is this sort of very relaxed level of apathy. Nothing is a big deal, everything is chill, and that usually even includes the level of hospitality for the visitors. And while things were very relaxed in typical beach town fashion in Mirissa, in just the couple of days that I was there, I felt a level of direct hospitality I've rarely experienced anywhere in all of my travels. The weather wasn't perfect, I didn't get to see any whales or go surfing, but I found something even better, a real connection with humanity in a small town on the coast of a small island in the Indian Ocean. That small town is called Mirissa, and in my opinion, it truly represents the finest in Sri Lankan Southern hospitality.